Hey everybody, welcome. We're going to look at this cacao tree today, and it withstood 36 degrees for approximately 2 evenings with high wind here in Davie, Florida. That was about a week ago. And I did not protect the tree with anything. I didn't cover it, I didn't put blankets, I didn't build a tent around it. I did absolutely nothing for these container-grown cacao tree, and that was risky. But I needed to find out what they can handle, okay? 36 degrees, I'll show you what happened. Alright, so right off the bat, here's what I learned, okay? I learned that some of these fruit just cannot handle it, okay? If it's that cold, they really do not handle it. I cut off a lot of them from the tree that were very, very dark, kind of an orange black. They were absolutely useless, they were no good, okay? And they were much smaller, so those guys, those small ones, couldn't handle it. Now this guy, surprisingly, looks like it's got a beautiful yellow color with a little bit of browning on the edges. So my suspicion is that, and there were 2 of them, and I'll show you the other one in just a minute. So I'm not going to remove this one, but I did remove one. And when I come back, stay tuned. I'm going to show you what happened inside, and I'm going to also let you know what happened to the seed. Is the seed viable or not? So don't go away. So this cacao pod is very yellow and withstood 36 degrees, right? So we're gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna show you the other pod so you can see what happened to it. Stay tuned. All right, so here's the pod, one of 2. The first one I showed you is on the tree. I haven't removed it yet. And this is the pod that I did not think was actually ready. The reason I say that is because this pod was literally green, dark green, very dark green. And I'm going to show you in a second, by comparison, how green I'm talking about. So this is kind of like, to me, very strange, because I figured this pod would be damaged by the cold weather and wouldn't be usable. Now, that may be true, because if you take one of these cacao seeds individually, you see the pulp around it. I tasted it, and I'm going to taste it now. It's supposed to have a kind of a citrusy taste to it, which it does. I'll do it again. So it has a nice, mild citrus flavor. And then what I did is I cleaned it really well with my teeth, and then I removed the pulp completely with my finger so I could see what's going on with the seed. Now the seed is mature, it's well developed. I can squeeze it. It even has the emerging root already. So I'm gonna plant these and we're gonna see if they're gonna germinate. I think they will. Why am I bringing this up? Because honestly, this was completely green, and I'm gonna show you how green it was. And within the 2-day period of 36-degree weather, instead of it being no good, it's fine. So I guess the point is, the size of the fruit, the pod, was large enough and well enough developed that maybe it was ready even as it was green. But generally when they're green, this variety, anyway, there are other varieties that, yes, they are green and they're ready. But this variety, I've never seen that. You know, I've always had to, you know, harvest them when they were very, very mature with a nice coloring to the exterior. And when you scrape the exterior of the skin, you can see a little bit of a beige color underneath, you know, similar like to when you harvest mamey fruit. So anyway, the point is that, is it possible that the cold weather actually helped to speed up the process of ripening? I don't know, I doubt it, but something happened here. If you have any comments, leave them below and give me some tips. And I'm gonna plant these, and I'll do an update eventually on if these seeds germinated, so you guys can be aware of that. Now I'm gonna show you what the pod looked like. There's another one that's very similar on the tree. And I guess as a good experiment, what I should do is cut that one, open that one that's green, and see if it's at the same stage as this one. Way down here I have a pod on the bottom. It's kind of small, it's not as big as this one. This one's much larger, probably about 1.5 inches around larger than this. This is kind of small. There's another one behind it that's about the same size as this one. And there's another one stretching out my arm back there, which I don't think you can see it, but I'll bring it into focus in this video so you can see it in a minute. But you know what, now that I think about it, these pods are very, very small compared to this and to compare it to the one that I just showed you. So I think I'll just waste it if I try to open this right now. So as I said, this pod is larger, and the coloring went really quick from a green to a yellow within a couple of days after that cold weather. So, you know, maybe it was just at the point that it was going to turn yellow, and maybe the cold had nothing to do with it. But the point is, I guess, that 36-degree weather, we have a nice couple of pods. They didn't get damaged in any way, and we were able to, looks like anyway, get the pod to give you some good fruit as far as flavor, and as far as germination of the seed does look good. So we should get germination on that seed. So what I'm going to show you now is the other pod that's in the back in just a second. But I want you to understand, I'm not saying that the cold weather stimulated anything or did anything. I just want to show you the condition of the pods. That's all I'm saying, the condition of the pods. You can see that this pod has this color, and I didn't think it was ready. And even though we had the cold weather, the pod developed, and it looks like the seeds and the fruit are well. They're doing well. In other words, the flavor is good, and the seeds look like they're viable. So that's it for this guy. This is the container grown tree. Now I'm going to show you the one that's in the back, so you can see that one's like a lime green color, a lime green. So it'd be interesting to see if in a couple of weeks, or maybe 3-4 weeks, about a month, if they'll be ready to harvest. And we'll address that in another video in the future. So what I'm going to show you now is that lime green one that's hanging from the back. And if you'll notice, the condition of the tree is pretty beat up because of the high wind and because of the cold weather. The leaves took a beating, I mean terrible. And as I said earlier, it did not protect the tree. It is protected from wind a little bit, and it does have this concrete wall behind it. So I was very surprised that it got beat up this bad from the cool or cold weather, because I thought it would do better getting radiation from the wall that faces, actually faces north and south. So I thought it would give it some additional warmth, but apparently, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. And again, these pods turn color very quickly from the green to the yellow within 2-3 days. So I have another cacao, actually 2 trees that are in the ground. The one that I showed you recently on a previous video. Take a look at that. That's a short video, and it talks about grafting it. It talks about those 2 trees that are in the ground. It also talks about the approaching cold weather that I was worried about. So check that video out. You'll see it. I'll put a link to it so you guys can watch that video. And I've got lots of cacao videos here. So if you want to learn about growing cacao and you live in the southern part of the United States, you can actually do this with a little bit of risk, because if it gets too cold, it would have gotten down into the low 33, 34 degrees. I don't know. The outcome could have been pretty devastating. And if you live in a colder area, a small greenhouse is enough to house 1 or 2 of these trees, and you can have fun growing and experimenting and learning all about the cacao tree. Thanks everybody. We'll talk again. Have a good one. If you like the channel, subscribe, give us a like, maybe leave a comment. Have a great